Love him or hate him, you cannot deny Edgar has been one of the most popular brawlers ever created. And it definitely does seem like everyone plays him, from the pros who play at the top of competitive, all the way down to your friendly neighborhood random. Let's take a look at what he does to top the player rate chart consistently. Like I do in the Why No One Plays series, I want to specify that this video does not intend to insult your main, or whoever you play, unless your main is you-know-who. This video simply serves as an explanation as to why Edgar is played so much. The Brawladays event of 2020 marked the first time Brawl Stars gave out one brawler for free for the Christmas season. Edgar debuted as this brawler, alongside Byron in the December 2020 update. This raises a lot of red flags right away. This was a once-in-a-year event, and Edgar as a character was centered right around it. Therefore, it makes sense to look at his release conditions and character design. First, the release conditions, and this is an easy one to tackle. Edgar was released during December 2020, during peak COVID time. In case some of you are watching this from the future, COVID-19 launched a pandemic starting in March 2020, and not a lot of people were used to not going outside. Workplaces were shut down and students were forced into online school, with a lot of people suddenly gaining a lot of free time from cutting transit out of their daily routine. Brawl Stars took this to their advantage. People had more free time, which meant they spent more time on their phone, and Brawl, with its 2 to 3 minute games, was the perfect object to capture their attention. From March till the end of the year, the devs released the first iteration of gadgets, the first iteration of the Brawl Pass, True Silver and True Gold skins, an insane lore drop in the form of the Star Park video, and the Map Maker in the middle of Season 3. The December update launched right in the middle of the Map Maker slot introduction in Season 4. This might not seem like much at first, due to the in-game Map Maker's relative irrelevance nowadays. But one key feature made it so much more popular back then. The Map Maker slot allowed you to earn and lose trophies from wins and losses. This was huge for cheese strategies. It was insanely easy to get a rank 30 Colt by pushing him on one of the Map Maker heist base race maps that required a wall break, because Colt had the highest DPS of all the brawlers who could instantaneously wall break. You could push a spike to rank 30 along with him. And this happened almost every single day, because there was zero quality control over the winner maps. Edgar benefited with these too, as you'll see later. Of course, this is a whole terrible mechanic that deserves its own video, but it did succeed in roping people into the game and keeping them there. With trophies in Map Maker, a lot of people that would not have normally played the game seized the opportunity to gain some cheap, easy trophies. This, coupled with both COVID keeping people at home and the general quality of updates this year, meant there were a lot of players who played the game during December of 2020. And when did the free Edgar drop in the shop? That's right, that same month. We can see this peak with many recent brawlers. Miko and Gray were both free brawlers, and when they were released it seemed like everyone was playing them. And though they fell off the charts as the years went past, they still remain in relevance today. Of course, they all have very appealing kits, but the peaks are still memorialized in player memories of Brawladays. Besides, that's a story for when we cover gameplay design. For now, let's cover Edgar's character design. Edgar is an Edgar cut-wielding emo teenager who does parkour and works at the Star Park gift shop along with Colette and Griff. And as the first completely free brawler, his design understandably had quite a lot of thought put into it. For one, his scarf is sentient, which gives him a Doc Ock-like power, and this is even reflected in one of his skins. He wears a red gift shop vest, but the rest of his attire is either black, white, or dark blue. The red-black-white color palette is very reminiscent of other modern-day icons, like Lightning McQueen or Mickey Mouse, and they're popular for a reason. Edgar just pops out in front of the rest of the cast, with the sheer contrast between most of the colors in his outfit. The scarf is a nice touch. After all, who wouldn't want a sentient scarf friend who punches people for you? But the voice lines are something else. Edgar has some of the best and most iconic voice lines in the game. CEO of Brawl Stars was notable far before it became a mastery title, and his other voice lines are nothing to scoff at. They add to his character in a way that makes you believe he's a real teenager rebel. Honestly, this design would not have stuck if it was part of a game for adults, but it's perfect in Brawl. For reference, the player base of this game is honestly aged quite low, consisting mostly of people in grade school ages 7 to 14. This is the age where a lot of people start gaining a sense of independence, and these people can definitely relate to Edgar. More people like him, so more people play him, and so his play rate skyrocket. There are some other factors that apply to him. He has a very iconic title, CEO of Brawl Stars. And when a brawler has a good title, people will want to grind that brawler in hopes of getting that title. Of course, Pam is in the play rate trenches despite having a great title, so this factor is far from important. Edgar also gets a lot of good skins. In fact, he has a skin for every single rarity. There's a concept called the sunk cost fallacy, which says when one buys a good, they will try using that good to its maximum potential to justify having bought it. So getting a random skin from a star drop or buying a skin that's on release will inevitably get you to play that brawler, even for a short amount of time. Lastly, I want to talk about how Edgar is just a brawler that's known in the community. We've all had those thumbs down Edgar randoms. He's the butt of everyone's bad random jokes, and Edgar just symbolizes the bad random as a concept. Everyone hates the bad random, but there's also no such thing as bad PR. No matter how much Edgar is hated on, his name is said constantly, and that's what gets people to play him so much. With that out of the way, it's time for the most important part of the video, the brawlers gameplay. Okay, let's see. We have a brawler who's an assassin? That's fun. They don't have health, but they have a lifesteal. That'll be fun to play with in near-death scenarios. Let's look through the rest. They have a jump? This is my new main. Okay, seriously though, Edgar sticks so incredibly well to all the qualities that make up all the traditionally liked brawlers before him. Let's do a quick synopsis of Edgar before then, though. Edgar is an assassin, but you already knew that. Edgar has two special things about him. First, his trait makes his supercharge automatically over a period of 30 seconds, similar to Kit and Daryl. Second, he recovers 25% of damage dealt with his attacks and health. His attack is too quick, and I mean quick, punches that have a short range but come out insanely quickly. This is coupled with a 0.7-second reload speed and the existence of auto-aim. His super is a jump that travels over walls, then gives him a speed boost for 2.5 seconds afterward. So in summary, it's not a very hard kit to understand. You pick between auto-charging your super faster for a few seconds and gaining a consumable shield similar to Gus's super for your gadgets. For the star powers, you choose between area of effect landing damage on super or healing more from each punch. None of these impact much, but they will still be mentioned throughout the analysis. Okay, so starting off with the generic good qualities, he's an assassin. Assassin brawlers are brawlers that can take down enemies quickly with a reliable approach, but struggle with their paper-thin defenses. Or in other words, they have fast speeds and high damage, the two things that most fan favorites have. Edgar doesn't lack in this department, having both a very fast base movement speed and a mobility tool in his super, as well as his spammable attack. Fan favorite assassins include Leon with his amazing damage up close and invisibility, Crow with his daggers to annoy enemies and his jump, Fong with his combo potential up close and his dash, etc. Edgar has all of these traits to Mach 1, with one of the most spammable attack super combinations in the game. Unlike Leon or Crow, though, Edgar doesn't require very much planning or skill to play at low-level ladder. Since his attack is so spammable and he has a great mobility tool in the form of his jump, all he needs to do is jump onto the enemy and spam the red button until the enemy's dead, then rinse and repeat. It's also a jump and not a dash, so Edgar doesn't need to worry about positioning around walls the same way Fong or Leon needs to. He can just jump into the fight. As a short ranger, he doesn't need to know how to zone or land shots like Piper, for example, and even though he does need to know how to position to a certain degree, his super is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're locked into bad positioning. At least Crow benefits from getting out into the open and using his super to gain 2 waves of daggers onto the enemy rather than 1. And even Crow has to earn his jump, while Edgar can have it right at the start of the match with his first gadget. A lot of what makes brawlers popular is their ability to be picked up and played almost immediately. Brawl is a very simplistic game already, which means a lot of characters have low skill floors, but a lot of unpopular brawlers like Janet and Eve don't have that same ability. Janet has her clunky mechanics in attack warm-up and super maneuvering that needs some getting used to, and Eve's eggs are all very hard to hit. Ruffs is another example. having the ability to fit into multiple roles and matchups as a generalist, but if you don't know what you're doing with him, you lose to every matchup. But that's just the beginning. What's the point in continuing to play a character if you've already maxed out how well you can play them? This is why the second part of the formula is having brawlers that are hard to master, usually in the mechanical sense. Fong is easy to play at a low level, but the true skill with him is chaining and team-wiping the enemy, as well as using his self-canceling combo abilities. Terry is a great Fong in this, right? So, easy to pick up, hard to master. Remember that now. A lot of legendaries who are made to be easy to sell fan favorites, are built with the intention of having easy-to-pick-up brawlers with hard-to-master skills such as strafing with Leon or tip-attacking with Draco. This is the ideal. Edgar definitely performs at the first part of the formula. I mean, part of the reason Edgar's so played is his ability to stomp noobs. If you want more information on this, check out the Colt PowerPoint, but basically a noob stomper is a brawler that exploits certain skills that noobs don't learn until later in the game, while also executing those skills fairly easily. In this case, Edgar exploits bad positioning. Positioning is relatively simple to understand. It's the act of positioning yourself in a way that benefits you the most in your matchup. Since brawl lane matchups are mostly 1v1s, you have to position yourself to defend any advances from the enemy, while also letting yourself make those advances relatively easily. Edgar can basically ignore enemy positioning when getting ready to super over the walls that protect them, and a noob will not know to stay away from this, so Edgar can decimate them rather easily. When both players are good, then it becomes a lot harder for the Edgar, because the enemy will know how to position themselves defensively. Again, this transition makes it easy to pick up Edgar and play him at lower trophies, but it becomes hard to master his skills against good opponents. So he is mechanically suited to fulfill the first part of the formula. But the second part? Edgar doesn't really have that. His mechanics are pretty simple to understand, and though he does have some hard-to-master skills like team-wiping and dodging projectiles with his jump, they're all so much easier to do with other brawlers. Edgar does have his one-sided matchups, though, and this makes all the difference. Edgar is easy to pick up, but his matchups against sharpshooters and other long rangers are downright terrible, so it's game over if he meets a good Piper or Bell. He has one of the shortest ranges in the game, so picking between any brawler that has a range advantage over him would be picking from the entire cast, and he's also very squishy unless he is not actively healing from his attacks. Due to the structure of Brawl, though, most brawlers can and should have some ability to overcome bad matchups, and Edgar has that quality as well, with his shield gadget and super impact star power. Again, it would be pretty dumb to pick him in Power League against your Pipers and Nannies, which I don't condone for my randoms. It still is possible, though, and this is what fulfills the second part of the formula. To conclude my thoughts, let's look at some other niche, but still important, aspects of Edgar that make him so liked. Lightning Round. For one, Edgar is very good at Showdown. Edgar can knock out boxes very quickly with his high damage and fast unload speed, so he ramps up his damage very quickly. He's also very suited to take advantage of bush camping, with his auto-charging super and great punish ability. He can basically just sit in a bush, and if anyone comes near he can just wipe them out. Edgar is also a really fun troll pick in so many game modes, as people know the reaction that a thumbs-down Edgar will elicit from their teammates. Edgar's lifesteal lets him stay at low health while decimating the enemy, which is a huge dopamine boost. Coming back from 1000 health by spamming the attack button while the enemy can do nothing is such a great feeling. Edgar's hypercharge also just gives him a ton of stat boosts, which lets him decimate anyone and team wipe. It automatically charges within half the game, so Edgar turns into a mid to late game sweeper and can pull off some pretty impactful plays, even with his short range. Finally, Edgar is one of the brawlers you get for free on the login track when you start playing the game for the first time, and this login track has kept multiple people playing the game. It makes sense that this choice would be rooted deep in their memories, and so they'd see Edgar differently. Overall, Edgar just does so many things right, and those things make him the successful brawler he is today. Even though he has a lot of haters, his play rates shine through the cast C and make him the iconic bad random he is today. Thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or join the Discord server.